what my concern is, I see a lot of times, is people relapse just because they got nothing else to fucking go towards. Oh, well, I'm better than anybody else who's ever been in my family, so this is good enough. No, it's fucking not. You should always be a champion.
This is the Atomic Souls Podcast.
Okay, DBT. Isn't that a drug? Or is that
DMT.
DMT? Okay, so this is the other one. DBT.
DBT.
Got it.
Dialectical behavior therapy.
What is dialectical behavior therapy?
What do you think it is?
I love when you ask these questions because I don't even know what dialectical is. I have no clue what that word means. Behavior, I'm assuming it has something to do with like the way you act, like behavior, like good behavior, bad behavior.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say therapy is talking. I do remember talking about these now. Everything's got something to do with just talking. So I'm going to say it's something to do with talking about bad behavior.
Kind of.
All right, what is it?
Dialectical is the balance of two opposing ideas.
Okay.
So, like with dialectical behavior therapy, it's mindfulness and action.
Okay.
So it's like basically inaction and action, acceptance and change are like big concepts. And so like everything's on a spectrum of what kind of behavior do I need to change and what can I accept.
So you're saying for DBT, like it's just in general of viewing everything as a spectrum, or specifically the spectrum of acceptance and change?
Everything is a spectrum in it, but that's like the main idea, is like the main concept, and everything else kind of fits into that.
Okay. Can you give me an example? Like how would we therapeutically utilize this?
Well, like in early recovery, right? There's things you have to accept and things you have to change.
Such as
I can accept that like Thanksgiving's coming up. We've had some clients whose like parents are like, I'm going to drink on Thanksgiving. I don't care if you're an alcoholic.
Right.
It's like, all right, you have to accept that they're not going to change. And what you can change is you go to a meeting that morning, you have a safe person.
What if you're already doing those things?
That's great. Just
So-
giving you an example.
Oh, okay.
If you are already doing those things, you're probably not going to be an IOP. But I'm giving you an example of when to utilize change.
So
and
it's kind of like
acceptance.
just taking ownership of things to some extent, of like,
Yeah.
I can own these things and these are the things that I can manipulate to better myself. I have to accept the things that aren't me.
Yeah. They call it radical acceptance. And so
Radical acceptance.
you radically accept that like there are things in life that you can't change. There's people you can't change.
See, I understand
Situations. Like you have to accept that there are variables that you're not in control of.
that. Okay, yeah. That's easier for me to conceptualize than everything's on a spectrum.
Well, it's the
Because
spectrum
accept and
of,
change
like-
doesn't seem like a spectrum. It seems like either I accept it or I change it. That's binary. That's not a spectrum.
Well, the acceptance is not like I accept this, like that my mom is going to drink in front of me. Like I'm not going to like morally accept that. I think that's fucked. But accepting that that's the choice she's making and I can make a change myself based on that. So it's like, yeah. Does that make sense?
No. I don't get the spectrum part because I don't see where there's an in-between there. Like you can't say, well, mom's going to just drink a little bit instead of not drinking at all. Like that would be a spectrum. She drinks a whole lot, drinks a little bit, don't drink at all. She meets somewhere in the middle of the spectrum. But either mom drinks or don't drink. That's not a spectrum. It's binary. Either it's a yes or it's a no.
You're getting hung up on the wrong thing.
Okay, my bad.
And it's just accepting that she is, yes, going to drink. There's
Okay.
nothing I can change. There's no input I can put into that. And so it's like maybe the spectrum that would be more understandable is like how much change do I have? Am I capable of in this situation?
Okay, so like I can only do so much, but let's say I'm 2 days sober and my mom was my drinking buddy. Like spectrum wise, no matter how much I do, that's still probably a situation I shouldn't put myself in.
Yeah, I can accept that that's a situation that I cannot physically change. I can try to take the alcohol out of her hand, but she's probably going to drink a different one.
Yeah.
So like, I don't have control over my mom, so I can control myself. And just looking at what you can and can't change in each situation.
Well, if your mom won't put the drink down for you, you should not do Thanksgiving with them. Fuck that mom.
No, I saw someone that posted recently and said something similar. It was like, if your family is like ignoring like the bad, unhealthy cycles, then it's furthering the abuse and neglect and like unhealthy traumas. So like at some point you have to set a boundary with that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what you can change, right? Like you can accept and go to it and be exposed to people that are being disrespectful like that, or you can change and like, hey, I'm going to find a chosen family, or I'm going to do it alone, or, you know.
Well, I think that's the level of agency that's difficult for people and probably is discussed in depth in therapy is like,
it's hard.
Yeah.
It's easy to
having
say.
to change something that is going to hurt. It's like, I don't want to go home for Thanksgiving because mom and dad are going to be drinking. But you're also saying like, I'm not participating in Thanksgiving with my family.
Yeah.
That's hard, but it might be the right choice if that's going to cause you to relapse.
Yeah. Yeah. And DBT, dialectical behavior therapy, is very much for those intense situations. It was created for borderline personality disorder, which is called the I love you, I hate you disorder. And it's very extreme.
Gotcha.
There's very lack of middle ground. And so, but it's because most people that have that have grown up in traumatic situations that is either they're loved or they're hated. There's like no in between. And so they accept that as like their worldview and how they operate in the world. So instead of a healthy, like, hey mom, you're going to drink for Thanksgiving, I'm not going to be there, it would be like, fuck you for drinking. Fuck all of y'all. I'll never see you again. It would be a very extreme. Or like, oh my God, they love me so much, they're not going to drink. Like it would be like very extreme. But they'll put up with something else. Okay.
So in that regard, I'm starting to understand the spectrum a little more. The spectrum has nothing to do with the action. It has to do with emotional regulation associated with the action.
Yeah. Yeah, it's deeply rooted in regulating emotions. So that's one of the other spectrums is mindfulness and emotion regulation. And it's like kind of based on acceptance and change. Okay. It's difficult for me to visualize spectrum with a I have a visual. I can show you a visual.
And change.
Let me show you a visual. I'll pull it up.
Just showing a chart with acceptance on one side, change on the other side.
No, it's different.
Okay. But visualizing like emotional regulation, one end is hate, one end is love, and you're trying your best to stay in the middle. That is a spectrum that I can comprehend. I can visualize that. Yeah. Because I do think that's something that everybody has to work. It's like a muscle. Like you got to train that muscle.
So change and acceptance. There's 4 quadrants.
You realize you're not showing it to me right now, right?
I'm just going to describe it to you first.
Okay.
So change and acceptance, and then there's 4 quadrants within that, and it's all based on self-management. And so in the acceptance side, there's mindfulness and distress tolerance. And the change side, there's emotion regulation and interpersonal effectiveness. So those are things, emotion regulation and interpersonal effectiveness are more closely related to like, what can I change? And then mindfulness and distress tolerance are more on like, what can I accept?
Gotcha. So the spectrum is the regulation of emotions and self.
Yeah, self-management.
Yeah, that's what's throwing me off is the verbiage of acceptance and change.
Yeah. Yeah, so you either can, focus on acceptance of this and you sit through it in distress tolerance through the situation.
And stress tolerance, you said?
Distress tolerance. So if you choose to go to Thanksgiving and mom is drinking, there are skills called distress tolerance skills.
Distress tolerance.
Yeah.
So it's like how much distress I can take before
I break.
I break.
And you have to know yourself, like, can I put myself in that situation or am I going to break?
Okay.
And so distress tolerance is like very intense coping skills, like sitting in situations that you cannot change because you might live with mom and she's drinking and you can't leave that situation.
Well, I think distress tolerance that's a skill set even outside of recover. Like success in life is basically just how much, I never heard it called distress tolerance. I just called it stress tolerance. But how much stress can you take before you break?
Yeah.
We talk about it on the boats a lot. Like if you want to be a wheelman, 90% of the time, easiest job in the world, 10% of the time, they don't pay you enough. It's because that stress tolerance, like you need to be the guy that has ice in his veins and you're not going to break under pressure to be a good wheelman. So I think in that regard, if you're dealing with all those things, it could be setting you up to be an extremely successful individual later in life.
Oh, yeah.
Like you're being prepped to have phenomenal distress tolerance.
Yeah. Yeah. DBT is like one of the holy grails of like coping skills.
Yeah.
Like if you can apply the skills that it presents, I've seen people, like do amazing things. Because kind of circling back to our talk about like trauma and EMDR, like people who've been through a lot of trauma can utilize those coping skills that they learned in that for healthy things. And so DBT is basically like empowering that person to utilize and how to utilize them for healthier ways in managing and but like also the balance of change. Like if your mom is abusive, you need to like find a different housing situation.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's like the balance of like how much should you distress tolerance and how much should you get out the situation.
I feel like a lot of the time it's the verbiage that gets me. Like calling things coping skills, like it just automatically negative connotation. Like you're having to cope because life sucks. So it's like a way to dig yourself out of the hole rather than excel past baseline. So I feel like to some degree that type of verbiage holds us back a little bit because I'm just coping with this. It's like, no, I'm mastering this shit.
Yeah, well, that's why I like DBT, because it's about acceptance and change. Like acceptance is more of like, oh, poor pitiful me. Like if on like the very far end, it's just like a wet doormat. But the change part is really giving people agency. And most people coming in looking for DBT have been in that like, oh, I'm just like reacting to life and like I'm the victim to everything. And then once you start to show them like, no, actually you're not, like you can change things.
Right.
That agency starts to build and the confidence. And so, most clients that we're seeing are stuck in like survival mode and are the victim to people. And so we're helping educate them on like, hey, this is not normal.
So how do you transition away from that into like, all right, we're back to baseline. Now how do we move forward? Because that's where I feel like a lot of people get stuck, especially in the recovery world. We're like, oh, I'm 20 years sober. Phenomenal. What else are you doing with your life though? Because just sobriety is not enough. And the skills that we're talking about right now that we call coping skills, not to say like I feel like it's a negative connotation there. It's a phenomenal skill though, because the stress tolerance, you know who else needs that? A fucking doctor when they're doing surgery. A NASCAR driver, the quarterback when he's about to throw, game-winning point. Those are things, it's the exact same skill set. Like you're training yourself to be a badass, but then you get to baseline and you don't utilize any of that in a positive way. You just stay at baseline. Yeah. And so I think to some degree it could be some of that verbiage of like, oh, it's just a coping skill. That's not a fucking coping skill. It's a success skill that you use to cope.
That's a good way to put it. Well, I think you're also implying, though, and assuming that people have the same baseline.
And I'm not saying that, but I'm saying everybody has a baseline. And a lot of times people get stuck at the baseline.
A lot of people don't realize how much more they can do because they've just been beat down. And so your idea of baseline is different than theirs. So being 20 years sober and not doing anything with their life, that might be the best that they think they can do.
No, you're saying the same thing I'm saying. I think you're just not hearing me. I think the verbiage that we put around that by just calling things coping skills and stuff like that and acceptance and change can keep us in this bubble of thinking that baseline is acceptable. I understand that everybody's baseline is different. Like your baseline, your top end goal might be that, you're working management at McDonald's. Guess what? That's a great fucking job. And you can end up running 4 or 5 McDonald's. And before you know it, like you're a millionaire that just fucking manages fries and burgers. That's still really successful. Yeah. Somebody else might be a doctor. Like, okay, Y'all's baselines was different. Y'all's, capacity for success was different, but still very successful.
Yeah.
And I think what my concern is, I see a lot of times, is people relapse just because they got nothing else to fucking go towards. They get to baseline and they're like, oh, well, I'm better than anybody else has ever been in my family, so this is good enough. No, it's fucking not.
Yeah.
You should always be achieving.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think there is a stigma around therapy and coping skills, that it's just wallowing in the problem.
Right.
And just like being reactive to the world. I mean, even on that video we talked about, EMDR is a superpower.
Yeah.
Dissociating. Like, there's so many people that are like, oh, I just can't get out of it.
Right.
It's like, well, like, you need a therapist that can explain it to you about how to use it as a superpower.
It's like an unrefined skill at the current moment. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like raw potential that people don't realize they have.
It's like a street fighter. Like somebody, like, you got people that are out gangbanging and stuff and beating everybody up. Like, okay, that's horrible. I'm not saying you should do that, but
utilize that into like a career.
Well, they had an interview with Mike Tyson, and they asked him, said, hey, if you weren't a boxer, what would you have been? He said, a criminal.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's exactly right. He had a skill set to be a phenomenal criminal, and they refined that into being a successful, one of the most successful boxers. Yeah. I think that's the case across the board. We talk about spectrums, and I guess that's what always bothers me is I see a lot of people, and I see potential in them, and I think the issue is they don't ever look up. They're always just looking back like, oh, I beat all that stuff. I'm good.
Yeah. 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 It's easy to get out of the chaos and be comfortable because your nervous system's like, oof, okay.
Right.
We're good. Let's stay here. Because growth actually feels like trauma at times too. So
it is. Growth is trauma.
Yeah.
It should feel rough. That's growth.
Yeah.
It's
but if you've
pains.
been in like a genuinely traumatic experience your whole life, you can stray away from that and just seek that comfortability.
Yeah. Don't do that. Don't seek comfort. Well, like talking back.
Unless you have the right support system or like mentors that are supporting you. Like we see that a lot. Clients, staff, friends, family like that, where we see a lot of potential, but they're not living up to it. And it's like, you can only do so much.
Yeah. No, I don't think we've argued about this before. I don't think everybody can be saved. I think we can try, but I think some people are just lost causes. But I don't think that's the majority. I think majority are salvageable. And when I say salvageable, I think they're not just they get back to baseline and they coast through life. I think they can achieve great fucking things. And talking about...
I think get to stability would be a better word that I would like. A better word than like baseline, because baseline's like different for everyone. I think like get to stability.
Stability's different for everyone.
Yeah, I don't know. Baseline's bugging me.
Well, see, so what we were talking about the other day, where you were trying to explain something to me, you're like, well, majority of people are 8th grade reading level, whatever. I was like, yeah, I'm that majority. Yeah. So you use verbiage for somebody with a master's degree, and it blows over my head majority of the time because I'm like, it doesn't fucking make sense to me. Yeah. Baseline makes sense to majority of people. Yeah. What comes after baseline? Success. And that's why I don't like stability, because it's like, what comes after stability? I don't fucking know. Getting high again. Right? The stability is you're in the middle. You can only go up or down. So you can get high or you can get low. Baseline is the starting line. You take off from there. Okay.
No, I see stability as like a foundation for growth.
Because that's what you've been trained for the last 9 years to speak with. Okay. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, what a second ago you said, growth can feel like trauma. I think growth should feel like trauma. Like, I don't think trauma is always a bad thing. I think trauma is something that trains you to do stuff differently. Like, I deal with stress extremely well because I have had extremely stressful scenarios that I've gone through, some successfully, some unsuccessfully. But I can recall those experiences when I get into other experiences that are similar to that. And I've trained myself to deal with those things. So it becomes just like talking about on the boat, like it becomes a mechanical thing. Like I don't necessarily conscientiously do things. They just happen because I've done it repetitiously so many times that now that's my reaction to it. It becomes a reactive state. Yeah. And so I think, talking about growth and growth feeling like trauma, I'm not saying you should let people, tear you down, but I think you should allow yourself to experience positive trauma, if that's a way to phrase it. So you can
emotionally intense situations.
You should allow yourself to experience emotionally intense situations
within a controlled environment.
Yeah, within a controlled environment, so you can become better.
That's the master's level saying of it. Yeah, because
what's
that emotional intensity lets you apply the skills that you're learning. And then, like you said, like it's muscle memory once you start to be exposed, once you're exposed more to intense emotional situations and you have the control and the capability, you're kind of balancing that, like, this is scary, but also like at the same time, I do feel in control of it. And so it's like going back to the Thanksgiving.
Sometimes you don't feel in control of it.
Going
like
back to
like
Thanksgiving,
you're
it's like, can I please speak? Going back to the Thanksgiving concept, it's like, it might be scary to stand up to your mom and say like, hey, I'm not coming to Thanksgiving because you're drinking. But that's you practicing a new skill and you're facing that situation that's distressing.
Right.
But you're also, it's controlled because like, what's mom going to do? Like, yell at you. Like, we already know that's going to happen. Text it to her, call her. So you don't feel the intensity of her yelling at you.
Yeah.
And so.
Agreed.
Yeah. What were you going to say?
Well, I was saying sometimes you don't feel like you're in control. Like you're kind of edging towards the side of not insanity, but like it's
pushing your limits.
Yeah, you're pushing your limits. So you're going to feel like you're pushing the limits.
Yeah.
What did you say was the master level way of saying it? The therapeutic way of saying it?
Emotionally intense situations in a controlled environment.
Emotionally intense situations in a controlled environment. So the blue collar way of saying that is don't be a bitch.
Facing your fear. Yeah. It's basically feeling more confident in your ability to apply skills and then accepting the outcomes of the situations as well. Like kind of a lot of times in therapy, doing DBT skills will think of all the different scenarios that could happen.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say you set that boundary with mom. Okay, what if she says, okay, I won't drink. I want you to really come. Okay, great. That's like best case scenario.
Right.
Worst case scenario, she like, I don't know, comes to your house and like yells at you or like burns it down. Like, okay, is that going to happen? Probably not. She's probably too drunk to get in her car.
Yeah.
So trying to find that like middle ground. And then it's like, okay, like I feel confident that like I can set this boundary because mom's always yelling at me. I don't give a shit if she yells at me about this too.
Well, you start with little things. I mean, confidence doesn't come from success. It comes from repeated success. It has to become a pattern. And that's where you develop confidence from, is that when you think about that thing, you're like, well, the pattern is I'm successful at that.
Yeah.
So starting with small things.
Small things or practicing with therapists. We do that a lot. Right? Like empty chair. It's like, hey, like, okay, talk to this person. Like they're here. Or like talk to me and I'll like role play your mom and I'll yell at you. We practice it because that builds up the muscles. And then EMDR, there's future protocol, which is the same thing. It's just like doing it in like a visual kind of way.
Yeah. Well, I think practicing stuff is a phenomenal idea.
Yeah. It wires your brain to be ready to face it like it's already faced it. There's actually science that goes into imagining stuff happening like it has happened or is going to happen. Your brain can't tell the difference of if it's happening currently or if it's in the future. And so it thinks that it's happening now. So it's basically like your way of exposing yourself to intense situations without actually exposing yourself.
Yeah.
Your brain cannot tell a difference.
Huh.
It thinks that it is currently in that situation, which is why EMDR is so helpful because you are exposing yourself and desensitizing yourself in the same situation because you know that you're safe in a room with me and there's not someone actually yelling at you.
Yeah.
But your body is experiencing being yelled at the same time. And so like your brain and your body are like, ugh, but it's rewiring your brain to say like, okay, you can handle this. Like you're fine. You got it.
Yeah.
Because you're not actually like physically exposed to it. So it's really interesting.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
It's like simulations. Like you had to do like simulating boat driving.
That's what I was just thinking about.
It was real life feeling, right? It felt
to an extent. Yeah. I mean, there's some disconnects there, but there's definitely recall that happens when you go back. And well, then you like in a steersman scenario. So steersman's like an apprentice. We will go through things hundreds of times with them before they actually do it on their own.
It's that muscle memory you're building.
Yeah, it becomes muscle memory. But then that's where you get the confidence from, is like the pattern is I've gotten this right every single time. And I talk with steersmen about that a lot, because they'll get all excited, like, oh man, I docked that perfect. I'm like, you did. And it's just like, well, I know what I'm doing then. It's like, no, you don't. I was like, perfection is when you do it right consistently. Like you accidentally got it right.
Right.
Great. That's positive growth. Like you're moving in the right direction, but you need to get it right every single time.
Yeah.
We have a saying of like the goal is zero, meaning zero harm to people, to equipment, to the environment. Well, the only way you achieve zero is you get it right every single fucking time. And I think that level of excellence that I learned out on the boat, like I'm very appreciative of that from them. Yeah. And I think I try and take that everywhere now, but I think a lot of people celebrate too early at times, because they're like, oh, I got it right this time. Yeah. It's like, okay, but would you get it right every time?
Right. Yeah, because the more you're practicing, the lazier you get.
Right.
And the less intense you are focused on getting it right. And so you can actually mess up the more that you start to like practice it more.
It's a slippery slope for sure when it comes to recovery. Because like we have friends that you know, they'll hang out with people drinking, and that'll happen for a couple of years, and they're like, oh well, maybe I can just have one and I'll be good. Yeah. And they are for a couple of years, and then that turns into, well, you know, I don't really have a problem anymore. You got a different brain in your head now? Like, no, you still got the same fucking problem. Yeah. And it turns in just to an extended relapse. Like it's not a click of a button relapse. Like, oh, I didn't go shoot up heroin last night. It's like, yeah, but that's where you're headed to.
Right.
It might take you a year to get there, but that's where you're headed.
Yeah. Yeah. You're rewiring your brain to go back to the easiest path of coping, which is getting high.
Right.
And so if you start introducing like other drugs, then hey, your brain's gonna be like, hey, let's go back to that. That was easy.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's like the big, bold, black lines. Like you have to have big, bold, black lines. Yeah. And that line cannot change. It's like, this is the standard for me. And I'm not going to deviate from that standard.
Yeah. It's the same with like, we've been trying to eat healthier, and like it's hard,
especially when Lori brings a fresh baked cake.
It was still warm. Oh my god, yeah. But like your blood sugar, in like a kind of technical way, your blood sugar is used to a certain amount of sugar in it. Mm-hmm. And so you get those sugar cravings.
Absolutely.
Because your body's trying to equalize and get to that amount of sugar that it's used to.
Yeah.
And so if you can be mindful of that and not feed it, you can rewire your body to want less or need less. Think that it needs less.
Well, you bring down that baseline for your body. Your body adjusts to it.
Yeah, and so it's so fucking hard.
It's also why it's so hard
easy to just like pop a candy and it's like, oh, I feel better.
Yeah, your body's ability to acclimate is insane, because it's also why it can be difficult to lose weight. Yeah. Like we're trying to lose weight now, but previously I'd done that. Me and Garrett did that diet together, and we lost, fucking 60, 70 pounds. Yeah. But we'd hit these plateaus where it didn't matter what we did, we just weren't losing weight. And what happens, our body acclimates, and they're like, okay, you're only going to give me 1,200 calories a day? Bet, bitch, I'm only going to burn 1,200 calories a day.
Yeah.
And so it's like you got to kind of jolt it. And the way we would get off the plateaus, we would actually like overindulge and eat excess and bring that tolerance back up, and then bring it back down and like jolt our body back into condition. Yeah. Our bodies are amazing things, but it's the same thing it does with drugs. It's like you see somebody, it's like, oh, they smelled fentanyl from 50 foot away and died. And this other dude's like, that's my drug of choice. What are you talking about?
Shoot that up.
Because your body acclimated to having that within its, biochemical makeup, or whatever the fancy word is there.
Yes. Yeah. That's why alcohol is so hard, because in like there's a lot of drugs that like hit differently. Like some just hit certain receptors, but like alcohol, like it has the blood sugar effect. It hits like more than just the opiate receptor. Like it hits like a lot of different receptors. So you're not just dealing with like opiate high and like changing that, or like meth high. It's hitting a bunch of different receptors. And
it's also socially acceptable.
Kratom does the same thing. Yeah. It hits more than just one receptor. So instead of just like, I'm trying to lower my blood sugar, it's I lower my blood sugar and my craving and this and that. And like all of your brain chemicals are fucked instead of just one.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So that's one of the hardest ones. Nicotine's similar.
I think both of those, like it's the cultural normity of it as well, of like if we go to dinner with somebody and they're drinking, we don't think of it as a big deal. But if like we walked in, they were shooting up heroin, and be like, let's catch dinner a different night, bro.
Yeah.
And so it just becomes like a cultural norm. Same thing with nicotine. Like I don't think about it at all when I see people, smoking or doing the little Zins or whatever. And so it's hard for them to feel like a guilt about it or feel like they're doing anything wrong. And I'm not saying that they necessarily are doing anything wrong, but if it's overwhelming your life, then you should change that.
Well, there's a slower decline and like a slower level of consequences, right? You're shooting dope, you're probably gonna burn it all to the ground pretty quickly, but smoking meth, it takes about a few weeks to a month to burn it all down.
Alcohol you can burn down pretty quick too.
Alcohol you can, but you can also maintain. Like we know people that instead of like liquor, they just drink beer and like they're maintaining that, and that's great. So there's like ways to like
I think that's the difference between being an addict and not being an addict though.
Yes.
Like an addict's not gonna maintain. They're gonna fuck shit up.
I've seen addicts maintain, and then when like shit hits the fan is when they fuck shit up.
Were they maintaining though, or were they just hiding their
functioning?
Yeah, functioning, maintaining ain't the same thing.
Functioning.
Yeah. Like I might be able to hide something from you for a while, and then all of a sudden it blows up. I'm like, shit hit the fan. Like now, shit hit the fan for me a long time ago. It just finally came to light.
Yeah, everyone sees it.
Exactly. Versus like the non-addict that they drink a couple beers once or twice a week. That's very fucking different than like I'm sitting in my car before I go home and I'm down in a fifth of Jack. I get home and everything's good, but like my liver's about to fall out of my body.
Yeah, I'm laughing because we have some individual clients that Megan sees, and they won't get completely sober, but they drink on their way home from work. Right. It's like, they don't think that's healthy, bro. Like, come on. They're not telling anyone about it, but it's just like, it's like is that maintaining?
It's not maintaining. No.
Healthy coping.
It's endangering you and everybody around you. It's like, I'm not hurting anybody. Well, when you
crash your car.
You crash your car and you kill the family that's in the other car, you're hurting somebody.
Yeah. So it's interesting what people label as like maintenance or functioning.
Yeah.
But that one, it kind of blows my mind because I'm like, there's so many other things you can do to like relax. And that's the choice. Like, why are you so like stuck on that? I
don't think it's a relaxed thing. I think people will try and frame it as relaxing. Yeah, I think it's addiction. It's the same thing as like a hunger. Like I got home yesterday and like I'm fucking hungry. I have to eat something. I'm not looking to relax. I'm looking to fulfill a need that's inside of me. And I think that's the same. Like we can try and frame it as whatever the fuck you want. But if you're an addict and you're drinking on the way home, you're not relaxing. Yeah. You are fulfilling a need and you're doing it in a way that you're hoping you don't get caught.
Scratching that itch just enough.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, back to DBT. After that rant. Harm reduction.
Anyway, I think DBT sounds phenomenal.
It's great. I love it because it's very actionable, and it makes the gray areas more black and white. Yeah. And more like distinguishable, because a lot of people and it's made for people who are, have been exposed to a lot of trauma typically. But it is useful for everyone. I think anyone can utilize the skills. It demystifies things and it gives you more empowerment.
I think it happens in an unrefined way, like every day for a lot of people. Like I'm just thinking about like I'm on the boat with the guys and like we're trying to get something done or somebody's stressing about something and we're talking through it and our verbiage is very different. I'm like, dude, don't be a bitch. Just get up and fucking do your job. And like we're helping each other out and stuff. We verbalize that differently. It's very unrefined. Yeah. But essentially what we're doing is DBT. Like, I'm like, you need to manage your fucking emotions right now. You can't go off on somebody like that.
Yeah. Basically, what we're doing is DBT.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you think about it, I think that can be the disconnect sometimes, though, is for like that blue
language.
collar
Yeah.
culture to where therapy is so frowned upon. And I think they just don't realize what it is because it seems just like when I hear you talk about stuff, or like I'm sitting there with you and Lori and Emily or whoever.
So high level.
Yeah, I'm like, what the fuck are y'all talking about?
Yeah, emotion regulation. That's understandable. Mindfulness is just being present.
Right.
Being like mindful, like woosah, take a moment, like touch some grass. That's all mindfulness.
Yeah. But see, like in like a work scenario, I wouldn't say, oh, we need to be mindful right now.
No.
I'd be like, all right, man, bitch about your wife for a little bit. Like, you know what I mean?
That's not mindfulness.
I know something is eating him up.
Be present.
Yeah, I know something's eating him up that he wants to talk.
To be present.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And that happens a lot.
But mindfulness on the boat would be like, get your head out your ass. Like, focus on the job. Focus on the task at hand. Put that line on the whatever, like, drive the boat. Put it into the right. That's mindfulness because you have to be so focused. It's focus.
We do both. So the unique scenario on the boat is you live at work. So like we have work, but then we have a lot of downtime. And in the downtime, you got guys out there that's been 20, 30, 40, 50 days away from their family. Yeah. And so like, they're worried about the wife and the kids and, the hot water is not working or the heater broke or whatever. And you're just remotely trying to figure it the fuck out. And you got to share that with each other. Like that's what becomes the brotherhood.
The fourth part is interpersonal effectiveness.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm saying. We do all them fucking things. We do therapy and it's unrefined, boat trash.
And that's like distress tolerance as well, because you're like dealing with stressful situations, but you also have to be mindful. So like you don't like get your leg ripped off.
Right.
So, and then you also have to be like effectively communicating with each other interpersonally.
Yeah.
And then you also have to like regulate your emotions because it's a stressful job. So that's like all the quadrants.
Yeah.
So.
I remember I told you about that story numerous times where when COVID was first coming out, hit the boat. And we got to work through it. Like, there's not an option out there on the boats.
You didn't tell me until you got home and gave it to me.
But anyway, I had Garrett was my tankerman at the time, and he walks up and he's like, "Bro, I'm dying." I'm like, "Well, you got to tie this fucking barge off first. You can die later."
Yeah.
And so we just sat there and chugged like 3 cups of coffee each with each other, and then got out there. And I'm on the radio the whole time, like, "You got this. You got this. You can do this." Yeah, walking through.
Be mindful together.
Yeah.
Stress tolerance together.
I was like, you can die in 10 minutes. But yeah, I mean, that was like we were partnering to be, hyper focused and mindful, knowing like, okay, there's light in the tunnel where we can chill out.
Yeah. That is part of like distress tolerance is having people who support you and like are in the same line as you. Like I had a client a few months ago, they were really struggling, and when they would express this struggle to a certain person, it would like escalate things. But then they expressed it to this other person, and the person met them where they were at because they're also working on themselves.
Right.
And they felt so much relief from that.
Yeah.
And like they had the same, like they were like escalating and kind of yelling and getting heated. But because the other person knew what was going on, they were able to like help each other through it.
Yeah.
And that was like huge for them to be like, oh, like I see it. I'm not the problem. The person that can't help me through it was the problem.
Yeah.
I found someone who can help me through it, and that's huge. So that's, I think, a big part of distress tolerance is like the like support aspect of it.
Yeah, I think allowing ourselves to be vulnerable with people is a great way to support. Because listen to what you're saying right there. I remember a few years back, a buddy of mine was starting to do the podcast thing. And that was like his business. We had already been doing business for a few years. That was the kind of the first business he was doing out on his own. We're getting coffee, and he just kind of vent to me like stressing out and stuff. He's like, "Man, I don't know if I can keep doing this. Like, I cried on the way here, like talking about crying by himself in the truck and stuff." And I just kind of let him vent for a little bit. And he's like, "How do you do it?" And I was like, bro, you think I ain't ever cried on the way home before? like that's part of being a fucking man. Like I get you don't want everybody to see you dealing with that shit.
Yeah.
But at some point you got to just let it the fuck out.
Yeah. With safe people.
Right.
Yeah.
And I could literally see the weight coming off of his shoulders as I was saying that, because he's like, holy shit, I'm not alone. Like this, we're doing this together.
Yeah.
And that, I remember that being such a big deal for him, because he was like at the break-in point, and for him to realize like, oh no, this isn't unnatural. Like if I want to have this level of success, then I have to have this level of stress as well.
Yeah.
And the way I am dealing with it, this is how people deal with it. It's okay to cry. It's okay to break down. Yeah. Now you got to get your shit together, and you got to be the fucking rock when you get out of that truck. But you can allow yourself to experience those emotions.
Yeah, that's where you turn on the dissociation as a superpower.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think of like surgeons, like you brought up like doctors and surgeons, like they see some like nurses, like see some like horrific shit, therapists. Right. But we can't take that home with us. Right. We might feel it sometimes. Sometimes we don't, because we have some good boundaries and walls up. But I mean, sometimes like shit hits you, and so you have to like let it out and process it. Yeah. And so I think people see like sometimes doctors as like superhuman or like narcissists because they don't feel like that's not true. Right. They do feel it. Some might be, but they just have exercised that emotion regulation to be at a higher capacity than others, and it's not unattainable. I think anyone can reach that. We just have to figure out how.
Well, like the disassociation, practice. It's a skill set. Yeah. Any skill, like LeBron James wasn't a phenomenal basketball player his whole life. He was a phenomenal athlete, and he refined that into being a great basketball player.
Michael Jordan wasn't either.
Right. So like disassociating, like you might do it inconsistently, and it might not be in a positive way. It might be in a very negative way. Yeah. But you can refine that into being an ideal skill set so you can have stress management. Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't realize that, or maybe like the ideas are too lofty and hard to like understand. Or it's like, I'm just a victim to this because they've never known anyone else to get out of it. Yeah. Or seen anyone else get out of their situation. Or had anyone be vulnerable with them enough to say, I've been there, you can do it, you can get out of it.
Well, I don't think it's too lofty. I think exactly what you said. A lot of people lack like good mentorship.
Access, maybe, to...
Lack access to mentorship. And so I think that's where like coaching comes in, though. We talked about this previously. You know, I'm not a big sports person. I don't really watch sports, but I think high school sports is a phenomenal tool for training people to become, positive members of society. But I think when you talk about, addiction recovery or just like mental health counseling, I think having that recovery coach, when done right, that's exactly kind of what we're talking about. Is you're going to have these like loftier philosophical things going on inside of therapy, but sometimes you just need a coach behind you saying, hey, stop being a bitch, step up and do the job. And the therapist ain't supposed to say that. That's supposed to come from somewhere else. Some do.
If they're good.
Yeah. I think you have to have a very specific dynamic with the client for that, though. And in a lot of scenarios, that dynamic's just not going to exist. You need to have some other mentorship taking place. That's a little different.
Yeah. I was reading that book, $1 Trillion Coach. Yeah. And it's so good, but it's all about like how to like validate and give direction at the same time, and like the art form of that, so that you're not like validating to like let someone wallow in it, but validating for the purpose of de-escalating the intensity of the emotions and getting them back on track for behavioral change.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times you're allowing people to take ownership of something too. Yeah. So like a lot of times when I will delegate something to somebody, I don't dictate how they do it. I'll ask them, hey, how do you think we should do this? Yeah. And then we'll kind of collaborate on how it gets done. But then they take ownership of that because they had input on how it's done. And then if there is, constructive criticism that takes place on the back end, well, I'm not criticizing you. We're criticizing the process together. How do we make this better?
Yeah. It was very team focused like that. But it was also like when shit hits the fan, it's like, oh yeah, that sucks. They're like, yeah, your way didn't go right. Like, what's another way that could go right? Or like this, maybe it's better for the team if it goes this way. So it's validating like, hey, yeah, that sucks.
Yeah.
Or like giving a little anecdote of like, oh yeah, I've been there before. Like sometimes it doesn't work out. Although like, here's the plan of action, or here's what we can do.
Yeah.
This is what I've done. So it takes away, it validates the like intensity of the emotion. And then it like takes away the intensity at the same time and moves into action, because you can't move into action without validating first.
Yeah. Well, it's a style of leadership too. Like you're leading by example instead of just dictation, which we always want to lead by example. But, the idea of like you're in the vanguard, you're running side by side with your people.
Yeah. Giving that personal experience. I found it really interesting book, how it was basically like this guy was like a college football coach who was unsuccessful, went into business and used those coaching skills to help people. He was so unsuccessful in college football because he was more focused on like validating and supporting and like community focused, that he wasn't so focused on like winning. But he took that into like business world and like thrived because business was so focused on winning. They needed more of that community and that balance. And so I found it really interesting concept of like, how this guy like helped all of like the big startups in Silicon Valley like grow and mentored people as like a very gruff person and very intense with direction, but like touching into the emotional side of things and finding that balance.
Gruff and intense is good when people feel supported by it.
Yeah.
Like Scott, gruff and intense.
You know he loves you, but he's gonna yell at you
like,
too.
When people ask me how Scott is, I'm like, he's a fucking bulldog, but he's our bulldog.
Yeah. And like they were kind of going into it like, if this guy didn't pick you to coach, then he just didn't give you the time of day.
Right.
It's because he didn't like believe you're coachable.
Yeah.
And if you're not coachable, then like I'm gonna waste my time on you.
Right.
And so I think Scott's the same. It's like, oh, fuck that person. Like, like he like doesn't give people the time of day unless it's like worth it.
Right.
And so, I think it that if they're giving you the time of day, it's because there like is connection there. Yeah.
That's cool. I know I listen to a lot of Nick Saban stuff. He's like one of the most winning coaches ever. And he, very similar philosophy. I was actually watching a TikTok of an interview of him. They were comparing him to some other coaches. And it was after he won a football game. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, we won, but we got to go back to the drawing board. There's some stuff that we're just not doing right. The process has refinement that it's needed. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, but you won. He's like, we won the game, but we didn't beat the team like we should have. And I think that's something, again, getting back to like people celebrate too early sometimes. Like you need to have just a repetitious pattern of success. Yeah. And that's kind of his philosophy is I don't care if we win or lose. If we nail this process down, winning is a default. It'll happen regardless. Yeah. And I think in business and in life, that's the way we have to be. Is like I don't really care about focusing on the outcome. Yeah. If I nail this fucking process down, like maybe the process is setting those boundaries up and workout routine, whatever the case is. If you nail that, then success is inevitable. Like that's just what you default to. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm reading the other book by those people called How Google Works, and the whole first chapter is just about that. It's about they call it moonshot or roof shot goals. And they're like, everyone wants to work on moonshot goals because they're like lofty and exciting, right? But there's less reward and they don't actually move the needle very fast. They either fail or they succeed. And so you can pretty easily get discouraged because it just fails. But the roof shot is like instead of a 10x moving the needle like a moonshot, it's like a 1 or 2x. And you consistently do a 1 or 2x growth, you can grow into something 10x in like 2 years.
Yeah, micro adjustments.
Yeah. And so it's like that's I don't know, a cool concept that a lot of people don't realize is like just the little increments of growth. You can't just get to like a 10x and be like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah.
No, there's still continuous growth to be done. Like, I'm sober. Okay, cool. No, there's more stuff out there.
Well, that's the concept that I've talked about previously with you of the metaphor of like a hunter versus a farmer. Like being the hunter's fun. You know, you get the exciting big kill or like the big sale. You made all this shit pile of money on this one sale, but it's not sustainable to where the farmer, he plants, you know, and harvests his crop, and the crop gets a little bigger and a little bigger and a little bigger. And before you know it, he's feeding everybody. It wasn't no super cool thing. You know, the process wasn't maybe as fun, but it becomes this way bigger thing in the end versus the hunter that's still just getting that next kill, that next sale.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's huge in recovery because you're just growing new skills all the time.
Right.
And it's just like, okay, like what's next? What's next? How can I keep growing in business and life too? It's like we get so comfortable sometimes and we have to continue to be like, all right, what's a 1%? I don't have to get like overwhelmed by like making a 10% change. I don't have to overhaul my whole life. I was thinking about that when we moved into our house. Like it was overwhelming to like clean. I was like, just clean one thing, just do one thing. Same with business. It's like, just do one thing today and then that'll be done. And then tomorrow do another thing and it'll be done. Because there's always like so much to do. It's just like, just do one thing.
Yeah. Well, that's why I love working with checklists. Like we use Monday.com, and I'll just go down the list. Like, okay, I'm going to work on this. I'm not going to think about anything else. And then I'm going to go to the next one. I'm going to work on that. I'm not going to think about anything else. And then before you know it, I actually have excess time that I can work on other projects because I didn't sit there and procrastinate worrying about how I'm going to accomplish all this shit. And in recovery, you know, this is kind of more of a big book thing, but they'll say, you know, just a day at a time, like just be sober today. And tomorrow be sober that day. And before you know it, you got a year sober and 5 and 10 years sober. And again, you know, you get back to baseline and then how you succeed. Take that same fucking skill set and move that into career. Don't worry about being, you know, regional manager or whatever. Worry about your job right now and instead of giving 100%, give 120%. And if you just consistently are the absolute best, then it's inevitable that you get promoted. And then on the next one, you worry about, okay, what's the skill set here? And refine that skill set to be amazing. On the boat, like, well, I get all these new guys. And they're like, oh, I'm going to be a wheelman one day. How about you learn to be a deckhand first?
Right.
And then once you're a phenomenal fucking deckhand, move into being a tankerman. Figure out how to be the best fucking tankerman possible. And then you become a steersman. And then that steersman eventually becomes a pilot. But once you get up into those management levels, you can look down. I know every single aspect of the guy that's working for me now, so I can go out there and assist him and empower him. And that's when you start, okay, well, now I'm not only successful, I am allowing other people to be a part of my success. Like I'm not just putting food on my table anymore. I'm feeding the neighborhood.
Everyone else. That's we'll get people about halfway through, it never fails, halfway through IOP, and they're like, I'm not getting anything out of it anymore. I've learned everything.
Right.
It's like, well, yeah, you've reached a point of like baseline stability. And now it's your time to start giving back to others and teaching them. Because when you can teach it to others, then it sticks in your brain better. Yeah. And it becomes more
sponsorship
or just like mentoring the next person in IOP. It's just, there's something about like coaching and teaching someone else that it like sticks in your brain better.
It does.
And so we had that conversation quite a bit. We're like, all right, at halfway mark, you're going to be ready to leave, but don't, because that's where like the actual magic starts to happen and it like really gets into you.
Well, it becomes an accountability measure because if I'm mentoring you and I'm saying, hey, you need to do X, Y, and Z. Well, shit, if I don't do X, Y, and Z, I'm a shitty mentor. Yeah. And so now I kind of have this guilt of I have to do these things because I told this other person that's how it works.
I have to keep doing this myself.
Exactly.
It's really interesting to see people who stick through that shift or not.
Yeah.
Because they're like so excited, like pink cloud, like, oh, I'm doing better. I'm great. I don't need y'all anymore. And it's like, well, well, why don't we have this conversation that in 2 weeks you're going to be crumbling to the ground, and they usually are about 3/4 the way. Life falls apart again.
What's the valley thing?
The Dunning-Kruger
effect, yeah.
The valley of stupidity.
The valley of stupidity, yeah.
Yeah, you get like so overconfident because you got a little progress. but you don't see like the bigger picture because you can't see beyond it.
Right.
So yeah, it's interesting to see people get there and like if they can get through it or not.
Yeah.
And a lot of that falls on us clinically, and we've been like really hounding this the last year of like clinical justification and like knowing it ourselves, and how do we communicate that to the clients of like, yes, you've made progress, but like you're still not making enough progress. Like there's still all this other stuff to be like, okay, you're sober, but like, are you a good husband? Are you a good employee? Are you a good dad? Like all of these other things, like, hey, like the bar is low, like let's keep going. Like sober is just the starting line.
Yeah, I agree. Well, that's kind of the book too, right? Like you what was it, like you affirm the success but also critique that there's opportunity for improvement.
Yeah, you validate like, hey, like good job, but also like there's like 10 other things we could work on. And so helping clinicians like ground themselves in that and not get the transference of the clients like excitement, because sometimes clinicians like they're like, oh yeah, they're great. I'm like, you just wrote a whole narrative to me about how they're not great, and you have low risk for relapse on their assessment, but you listed 20 things that they're struggling with. No, that's a high risk for relapse.
Right.
Like they need to work on these 20 things before they can succeed on their own. And we have to know that ourselves clinically and then impart that to the client as well and the family and be like, yes, they're making progress, although here's the next direction.
Well, it's back to, you have to be objective about the process. Don't focus on the win, focus on the process.
Congratulate the win.
Yeah.
Continue moving.
Yeah. When I was doing my steersmanship on the boats, this guy, John, phenomenal trainer. He rubbed a lot of guys the wrong way because he was just very objective, very short. Like there was no emotion there. But he talked about that a lot because we would do all these simulations and everything, and he would have a checklist, and he'd go through the checklist, and it was like, you did this right, you did this wrong. Did this right, did this wrong. It's a point system. And you get to the end. And I remember getting out of one. I'm like, man, I did pretty fucking good there. And I asked him, I said, hey, man, how'd I do? I don't know. I didn't score yet. Like, you were just watching me. Yeah, I don't know. You passed, but I don't know how you did yet. And he would go back and score and be like, actually, there's a lot of room for improvement here. But that's what made him so great, in my opinion, is exactly what you're describing. Like being a very objective about the process. We can celebrate the win, but we can't focus on the win. We have to focus on what we're doing here.
You can't over exaggerate the win.
Right.
If you go, oh yeah, that's amazing, that's the best thing you've ever done. Like it might be, but also there's a lot more to do.
The win wasn't the goal. It was just an event on the journey.
Yeah. It's like you said earlier, like perfecting the process. And like we're multifaceted humans. Like there's many parts that we can still work on.
Right.
Being sober or like just, finding some stability is not the only thing that we could and should do.
Right.
So it's a part of the journey.
Yeah.
The process.
Well,